Chelsea Clinton been saying on stage in the last few moments?
Well, it was a very interesting and very warm and moving and personal speech. It wasn't unlike that of her friend Ivanka Trump. They actually happen to be good friends. Donald Trump started to introduce him. But it is unlike that in one respect, because none of the Trump children, this struck me, none of the Trump children talked about their mothers. Each of them has a mother, and they were in most cases, the ex-wives of Donald Trump. They only had a father, and this is a family. And it's very clear that this is a warm and moving family, and that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to really build a sense of the Clintons as a family, and Hillary as a mother and a grandmother who's going to sit there and read Chugga Chugga and Goodbye Moon, Goodnight Moon to the little grandchild and so on. This is not only a former Secretary of State and would-be president, but it's someone who cares deeply about children, and that has been a theme throughout Hillary's career, and that's something that she really wants to point out. It was never really clear from any of the Trump children, for instance, just what role he played in their lives growing up. He was always there. He was the guy they'd go to work for eventually when they became mini Trump magnates and whatever. But there was never a sense of him as a warm and fuzzy person. And the American people love to vote for a president who they can relate to, who they can at least like, if not love.
Will Chelsea's words and those of both the Obamas and of Bill Clinton be enough to change that image of Hillary Clinton?
Not immediately, there's no doubt. And that's the big problem is Hillary has 30, 40 years of being seen as first a first lady and second of a kind of an automaton, a computer, someone who is really capable of spitting out all of the right answers to every conceivable problem, but not really understanding what it means to the individual person. And what they're hoping to start this week, and I think they probably have effectively, and we'll have to see how she does this beginning in about probably 15 or 20 minutes, is can this be a beginning of a transformation of Hillary as a person who can be like a Ronald Reagan or a John Kennedy, who can inspire and you can embrace, or at least, even if you won't go that far, at least accept being, someone who will take care of you as a leader. Not someone who will be a demagogue, but someone who will care for you as part of a democratic society.
Can I ask you, by and large, is Clinton the candidate that Americans really wanted, or is a vote for her in November just a protest vote against Trump?
A lot of it will be protests, there's no doubt about that. When Joe Biden was speaking the other day, it was very interesting to see. He only spoke for 18 minutes, but oh my goodness, he had everybody just moved to tears in many cases. And so many people left that room, from what people were telling me from Philadelphia, saying, if it had only been him, there wouldn't have even been a contest then. And to a degree, that's true. This is kind of the race to the bottom almost this year so far. But again, if Hillary can begin to turn it around, if she can begin to inspire as well as educate people, I think that's very important. That's an important first step towards the White House for her.
But she's not that well known as being the greatest of orators or for her big speeches. Can she really overcome the odds on the stage here this evening?
Well, she has some tough acts to follow. There's no doubt about that. President Obama last night gave probably he is one of the great orators among American presidents, and he gave really the speech of his life last night. Everybody is saying that. And there were some fabulous speeches tonight also. General John Allen gave just a moving speech, the former U.S. commander in Afghanistan and in Iraq. So she does have a very hard role to play in terms of following people like Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, who's very well liked, and quite a number of other people, Katy Perry, who's also very well liked. But all of these people were basically the setup acts, if you will, to what she needs to do tonight, which is to personalize and humanize herself.
Okay, let's listen now, though, to General John Allen, who took to the stage a short while ago.
With her as our commander-in-chief, our international relations will not be reduced to a business transaction. I also know that our armed forces will not become an instrument of torture, and they will not be engaged in murder or carry out other illegal activities. With Hillary Clinton as our commander-in-chief, the United States will continue to be that indispensable transformational power in the world.
Okay, let's bring back in David Andelman, who's still on set with me here. Republicans view Clinton as a Washington insider, as the torchbearer of the Obama administration's failed policies. That's clearly an image that she's desperate now to shake off in this speech.
Well, it is. There's no doubt about that. She doesn't want to just be seen as the third term for Barack Obama. But you have to remember also that Obama has a nearly 60% favorability rating after 8 years in office. That's really quite remarkable for presidents, as far as presidents go. And he really has been building. This has been building in the last a year or so. So there is a sense, on the one hand, she needs the reflected glory, if you will, of the nature, and for those people who really have embraced Obama. At the same time, she needs to show that she's different and that she can be a strong commander-in-chief on her own.
We've been saying in recent days that this is obviously a very historic thing that she's made it this far, the first woman to make it this far on the road to the White House. But how important is the fact that Clinton is a woman to the average American voter?
Well, it depends. You have to segment out which average American voter. Many women are saying, "Oh my God, we have to vote for her because this will be the as she said herself, the biggest crack in the glass ceiling, for our daughters and our granddaughters and so on, can say this was where it happened." There are other women who are saying, perhaps the first woman president shouldn't be Hillary Clinton. Perhaps it should be someone who's more interesting, who's more friendly, approachable, and has less baggage along with her. The problem, of course, is that for beyond this room, beyond the Democrats in this room, she is going to be speaking to a large number of American people, both independents and Republicans, who really are unsure about, do we want Donald Trump's finger on the nuclear codes? That's a very scary thing for a lot of people. So she has to convince them that, all right, you may not love me, I hope you will beginning tonight, but at the same time, consider the alternative. And
geographically and demographically, what has she learned, do you think, from the primary vote season?
Well, it's clear that she has certain states she must win. She must win Florida, for instance. So when she announced that she had chosen Tim Kaine as her vice president, the announcement was made in Florida and before a heavily Hispanic audience, where he was able to use his fluency in Spanish to really to take this on and really begin to project herself as an important force in Florida politics and in Hispanic politics. She needs to win Virginia, an important vote. No president has won the Oval Office without carrying Virginia. Okay, Tim Kaine was governor of Virginia, now senator from Virginia. So that's another box that we've ticked off. She needs to win, hopefully, Ohio. John Kasich is perhaps, he's certainly shown himself to be less than compelled about Trump as a candidate. So perhaps she has a good chance in a place like Ohio, a key state in the Midwest. So she understands all of these places that she has to carry, and she's begun to tick the boxes for each one of them.
Okay, David, I'm going to interrupt you because we can now actually listen to Chelsea Clinton, who was on stage or is currently on stage at that convention. Let's take a listen now to what she had to say.
I'm here as a proud American, a proud Democrat, a proud mother, and tonight in particular, a very, very proud daughter. I never once doubted that my parents cared about my thoughts and my ideas. And I always, always knew how deeply they loved me. That feeling of being valued and loved, that's what my mom wants for every child.
So, David, there we've had Chelsea, we've had Bill. How important is this Clinton dynasty to her campaign and this whole heritage of the Clintons?
Well, that can cut both ways. There are a lot of people who still love Bill Clinton, and the idea of having Bill Clinton back near the Oval Office as first gentleman is very appealing to a lot of Democrats and probably a lot of independents as well. The Republicans perhaps not so much so. But what's interesting is something that she said is that she felt really part of a warm family, and she understood the needs for family, and her mother understood the needs for family. It's not clear that any of the Clinton children were able to project their fathers caring about families out there. And the American family is a very important component of the electorate. and especially since, there are so many broken families now, and especially in the inner cities. But the understanding that she is looking towards that as for solutions. This is not something that Donald Trump has been very warm and fuzzy about, shall we say.
How do you think personally Bill feels about his wife, the former President Bill, running for president?
Oh, I think he's delighted. I mean, this is the crowning moment of his career. He's coming back potentially to the center of power. This woman that he's loved and respected his entire life is going to take on the mantle of carrying forward the Clinton-Obama legacy and so on, and establishing her own, because that's very important. She needs to establish that she is her own person. She is not simply a third-term Obama, or for that matter, a third-term Bill Clinton. She needs to say that I am my own person, I have my own concepts, my own ideas, and I understand your pain as well, which is a pain that is very different in some respects than the pains of this country during the Clinton years, or even the early Obama years as well.
And how important do you think is it that both Michelle and Barack Obama are behind this, and they're really they've passed on the baton to Hillary?
Oh, there's no doubt that this is very important that both Michelle and Barack have embraced her in this fashion, because there was a long time during the campaign when he held back. He didn't want to insert himself until he was quite clear that Bernie Sanders was not going to be the candidate. He wanted to embrace the Democratic candidate. It was very important to beat the Republicans. He can't abide the idea that his legacy could be squandered, if you will, by a Republican, especially Donald Trump, in taking over the Oval Office from him. So all of that's been very, very important. There's no doubt. What's interesting going forward is to see how she is going to leverage his speech beyond tonight, because she is speaking. Donald Trump really pumped up his room, the Republican convention. It was his room. He owned that room. What she's hoping to do is not only own this room, but own a large audience. This may be the largest television audience almost in the history of American conventions. And she needs to understand that she needs to have people understand that she is out there for them and not simply preaching to the converted, if you will.
I should say it's a big moment, it's a big crowd, and she might obviously well want to change her image as a presidential candidate, but clearly she's going to need to talk about policy as well.
Oh, she is, there's no doubt. And there is a lot of policy to talk about. And she also needs to point, if it hasn't been clear already, the contrast between her and her Republican opponent. I'm reminded of the 1964 campaign when Lyndon Johnson and Barry Goldwater. In a sense, Lyndon Johnson did the same thing that Clinton and the Democrats are trying to do this time. They tried to paint Barry Goldwater as a little bit crazy, and you want that hand on the nuclear button at that point. And there was a political commercial that only ran once on television, but was used in news shows forever, that showed a nuclear explosion, a mushroom cloud coming out, and a child's face in the middle of it, and someone basically saying, do you want Barry Goldwater in the White House with this trigger on the nuclear button? And that's something I think that it still resonates with the American people. It still resonates very clearly.
And there's just, as we've been saying, 3 months to go before that all-important presidential vote. How will the Clinton campaign change now that she knows that she's facing Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, she's going to be prepared. The first thing she's going to be doing is she's going to start preparing for the debates in September, because the debates are going to be very crucial in this campaign. She needs to get very clear what she needs to do, how she wants to proceed, and so on. Then she needs to get out in the community. She needs to develop a style of campaigning that's somewhat different from the wooden style she's had in the past. She needs to become more folksy, more a person of the people. She needs to relax. She needs to get out and sit down and
clearly her running mate will help her do that.
Well, hopefully that's exactly.